Yeah, yeah, Gurudev. Uh, Start from the 26th verse. ॐ श्रीकृष्णपरमात्मने नमः। अथ षष्ठोऽध्यायः। यतो यतो निश्चरति मनश्चञ्चलमस्थिरम् ततस्ततो नियम्यैतत् अदात्मन्येव आत्मन्येव वशं यनयेत् ततस्ततो नियम्येतत् आत्मन्येव वशं नयेत् प्रशान्तमनसं ह्येनं योगिनं सुखमुत्तमम् उपैति शान्तरजसं ब्रह्मभूतमकल्मषम् युञ्जन्नेवं सदात्मानं योगी विगतकल्मषः सुखेन ब्रह्मसम्पर्शम् अत्यन्तं सुखमश्नुते सर्वभूतस्थमात्मानं सर्वभूतानि चात्मनि ईक्षते योगयुक्तात्मा सर्वत्र समदर्शनः. So in the 26th verse, as we discussed last week, whenever we get distracted during meditation and the thoughts go somewhere else, he said, bring it back, restrain yourself and wanders away, bring it back. It's one of the tools during meditation to follow. So 27th verse onwards, he talks about what are the gains for a yogi who's meditator or who's a meditator. What are the gains? And what are the different stages of evolution as a meditator also is brought up. So you see from the first verse, Prashanta Manasam, then Shanta Rajasam, and then Brahma Bhutam. All of these words are used in these couple of verses. Shanta Rajasam, right? Shanta Rajasam means what? Where the mind is calm. When you meditate as a yogi, you become peaceful, mind is calm, right? So mind is calm means what? The overhead of your identity of the ego, etc. All of those attributes are on the back burner. They are not there up front. So mind becomes peaceful. And the other thing that happens is that, dispassion creeps in. So normally during the waking state, we are over passionate, wanting to do this or that, or needing this, needing that, etc. Somewhere that is put to rest. So Shantarajasam is the first step, wherein there is a mind calmness, thoughts are reducing, and then Sukham Uttamam. You see that word last word in the 27th verse. What is Sukham Uttamam? Sukham Uttamam is a higher degree of happiness, a larger fulfillment from this, or the happiness quotient is higher. Either it is deeper, or you feel more blissful, or it lasts longer. So, so the degree of happiness that one experiences in the waking stage, where we go through pleasures, as we call it, that also gives happiness. Comparative to this, right? All gurus say that this happiness is much more deeper, longer lasting. This is the one you want to experience a lot more, even during the waking state. And then that is even 1 degree higher compared to just a peaceful mind where, I'm now really quiet, right? The thoughtless is pretty much it's a thoughtlessness. I'm feeling very happy. There's a lot of bliss there. That leads to Brahma Bhutam. Brahma Bhutam means what? A connect with the divine. Whether you call it realization, whether you call it this verse, both the verses, Brahma Bhuta Kalmasham, then Brahma Samparsham Sukhamashnute is there in the 28th verse. Both mean the same thing. Wherein, so this process is something that is an evolving process. evolution and process. It's an effort is needed to get into meditation. But once you get into meditation, it's effortlessness, letting go, allowing for the divine to take care of, yourself into it, versus now saying, I am going to do something, I'm doing something. So meditation is all about not doing anything. I am not the doer. I am nothing. I do nothing. And I want nothing. Remember, we talked about this a few sessions back. So this keeping this in mind whenever we do, then there's this word called agata akalmasham. This akalmasham word is something. What is akalmasham? Akalmasham in a simple way means just, devoid of impurities. Not having impurities is one way to look at it. Now, what is an impurity? If one were to look at it and because it removes impurities, or the more you have less impurities, the more better the meditation. Either way you can look at it. But what is the meaning of akalmasham here? Right? If you go deeper into it, um, it comes down to having a lack of clarity of my true identity. That means I still not integrated about who I am. Am I this body, mind, intellect, complex? Or am I deeper than that? And if I'm deeper than that, what does it entail? All of that clarity is still there. That means that impurity is not allowing me to go fully into meditation. I'm still trapped a little bit into the sensuous aspects of life. Because if I'm still caught up in the sensuous aspects of life, I'm caught up in the limited I that I am, my body, my name, my fame, etc., etc. The more I am trying to understand that there is something in me that's even, more joyful, that which I'm made up of, which is my consciousness, that when the clarity keeps increasing, then the impurities start coming down. So that is where he's saying, so, and that is what, if you see from another angle in Vedantic terms, it is referred to as also avidya. Vidya in a typical meaning means, education, right? Vidya or knowledge. Avidya means what? Lack of knowledge or ignorance, as they call it. The word ignorance is used a lot in Vedantic texts. Ignorance doesn't mean that I don't know anything. I don't know physics, chemistry, etc. Not at all. Ignorance only in the context of my identity, my nature. What is my innermost nature? What is my true nature? Is it what I'm exhibiting in the outside world, or is it something more? Those aspects is referred to as avidya. And the only way to come out of it is through knowledge, right? Through the guidance of the teacher, through knowledge, being in knowledge. That also requires the same amount of rigor, enthusiasm, discipline as much as the meditation, because they go hand in hand. The more you're in the knowledge, the deeper the meditation is, the more you understand, the more you experience. So it is again comes down to our job to make it happen. See, if you just think of it, right? We all live in a house or wherever, apartment, etc. And let's just imagine that the next door, it's a vacant plot, then borewell is being dug. Of course, there is going to be a lot of dust and sound, etc. that comes up. What do we do automatically? Without even thinking twice, we go down there, close the windows so that no more dust comes into the picture. Same is the case if you look at it from our restless thoughts, restless mind. That is also a dust. Now, whose job it is to remove that restless thought? My job, isn't it? I have to somewhere realize what is the source for this restlessness. Right? Is it that I'm clinging on to some cravings, aversions, wants, etc.? Or is it, so the more I realize and become aware, even this is an awareness. So the more this awareness comes, more I'm I understand that there are these misgivings of mine that I want to get rid of slowly and steadily through knowledge, through the gaze of a guru, slowly and steadily. This dust in me gets removed. That is what is akalmasham. So when that akalmasham happens, then automatically all these other attributes that we talked about, right, which is sukhamuttamam, brahmabhutam, all of that starts coming in. So therefore, when we look at the meditator, the meditator goes through these stages and comes into the sublime state of where he says you're in contact with the Brahman. Sukham Ashnute, you're in contact with the Brahman. You're in the blissful state of a Brahman. There is no identity difference between you and the other. There is oneness only, as Guruji would say. Okay. So now the 30th stanza builds further on it. So what is it that becomes a trait of such a yogi who's a meditator is described here. Sarva bhutastamatmanam sarva bhutani chapmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. I'll chant a couple with the other one also. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvachamai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami tachamena pranashyati. So such a person who is in full harmony with this yoga. Harmony means what? His life, his day-to-day actions, etc., realizes the supremacy of this meditation. The need to meditate, the benefits of meditation. Once it is so much integrated in that particular person, he sees no difference or he sees equanimity with other people as well. He does not see a difference. Even though they are from the outside world different. Right. So one way to look at it, multiple ways to look at this thing, right? This world is a pluralistic world, right? This outside world that we talk about, no two people can say they look the same. God has made it that each one of us are unique. And yet, what Vedanta tells us is that is from the outer layer. In fact, if you could also say that, let's just say, take the skin out of the picture. Just go to the skeleton level. Do the skeletons look so different? They are the same. One may not be able to identify, whose skeleton whose is. It is just the skin, the color, the hair, the complexion. All of that is what makes one person, and the associated emotions, associated behavior, relationship, etc., makes a person unique vis-a-vis another person. Now, if I remove certain layers out of the picture, just remove just the outer skin itself, just flesh. Any way to recognize, any way to say that this person is better than the other person? They all look the same. So then the question comes, if you see, therefore, at an outside layer, there is a plurality. But what Vedanta is telling us, look at the singularity aspect of life as well. That deep inside you, what is in you is the same entity that's in that person. And it's the same entity that's there in the outside world, outside of you also. It's no different. So, what he says here, therefore, is, let's see that word 30, Pashyati. Yeah. Sarvatra samacha mai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami nachamena pranashyati. So if you see here, the same person, you see that everything, whatever is in me is also there in the other person. right? How many times do we even look at it that way, right? That, even within the family, there will be uniqueness. No two kids are the same. They are different. So how to relate to this, right? Always it's good to, correlate it with certain examples. You take a potter. Potter takes a clay and makes a few pots, right? There's a small pot, there's a big pot, there's a medium-sized pot. What makes a pot look like a pot is the space inside the pot. The bigger the space inside the pot looks bigger from the outside. Is the space inside the small pot different than the space in the bigger pot? No, not at all. One and the same. And yet, the small pot will say, I'm inferior to that other person because, I look smaller than the other one. It's like the waves of a ocean, one small wave, big wave, little realizing that within a second that small wave merges back into water, not to be even visible. So this the space between a small pot, big pot, etc., they are one and the same. Now they have their own identity per se. Let's say one day, the person who has got these three, four pots says, life is over, this pot is cracking here. It is time to demolish the pots. I demolish the pots. What happens to the space inside the pot? It merges with the space that is outside. It's always been the case. The space inside and the space outside are no different. And yet there is an identity that each pot takes that, I am such and such, I am such and such. The day, we all do, it merges. Is that what happens to all of us? The day we leave this body, we go back into the elements. And we go back into the elements of earth, water, fire, all of that, right? Where is the identity? So till the time we have, sitting in this fleshful body, we put all our name, identity, this, that, etc. I am superior, I'm inferior, blah, 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 etc. The moment we perish and merge, it's all the same. So the pot has its identity till that time. The space had its identity. So it's all the same thing that's pervading everywhere. That's what Krishna is saying here. What you see in me is what is the other person also. There is no separation between the two of us. Yes, one might say there is a physical separation, etc. Separation in the sense, connection, establish that connection that I am that one same energy that's permeating in both these physical bodies, which from the outside look like two concrete structures, but permeated by the same energy. Now, the thing that makes each one different is certain attributes of behavior, impressions, etc. And to understand this, right? If you have all gone to learn physics, in physics we learn one principle, right? A light goes through a prism. You take a prism, right? A glass prism, and light, black, white light goes through it, and coming out of it are seven different color lights, isn't it? One side it was, just one light. This other side comes out as seven different lights. Now, are those seven lights different from the one that came there where it originated from? The blue light says, I am blue, I am the most beautiful, or the green, puts a lot of significance to its color. From a Vedantic angle, all these colors are distortions, or is a distortion of the original energy of light that came from the source. Just like in each It's just a distortion. It is not our true nature. Because of all the things up as jealousy, shows up as ego. But if I were to just, you know, go on top of that little prism where the light permeated and it became seven colors, wouldn't I see one energy in all of them, one consciousness permeating? That is what is reflected in these stanzas. And what does it mean? It is to say that I surrender, that I'm basking in that one little, energy that takes care of everything in my life. Who better to take an example of than Prahalada? Look at Prahalada's life. As a small boy, he was tortured. He was put into severe situations, right? Amongst crocodiles, amongst snakes, amongst the worst possible scenarios. Everywhere, what do you see? Did he do? Narayana, 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 Narayana. That's it. All done with a smile. Did not at one point complain to his father that he was terrible, blah, 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 etc. For him, that Narayana was the supreme energy that permeated him, his father, just as his father had a distorted behavior that he was exhibiting. But for him, all that he saw in all those snakes, those crocodiles, himself, etc., were that one energy, which is Narayana, which is divine energy. So Prahalada, of course, is Prahalada, right? Ought to be a person like that. So that is the wisdom, right? That when we look at these verses, asking ourselves, are these all superfluous, not applicable? I can't get there, you know, ruling it out, or to ask ourselves, what does it take to get there? So if we see the 29th and 30th verse, that's what he's saying, right? Yeah, Yoma Pashyati Sarvatra. Whatever and wherever I see no separation. I see this oneness everywhere. Okay, so we'll chant the 31st verse. Sarvabhutastitam yo mam bhajante bhaj भजत्येकत्वमास्थितः सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि स योगी मयि वर्तते. So here he says a person who is able to relate to this a lot about seeing the unity amongst everyone, seeing the intricate connectedness in everyone, that it is me that is dwelling in everybody, that person is truly abiding in me, is residing in, right? This would come very naturally, right? For a person who's and so here one thing that to understand, right, is yeah, maybe that we'll do the 30%. We'll talk a little bit more on this one. Atmo sarvatra. I'm talking about the 32nd now. Atmo sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna sukam va yadi va dukkam sayogi paramo mataha. So if you see here, the word sukam va yadi va dukkam. Even this person, the total equanimity, he takes again the example of opposites, pleasure or pain. You can take any opposites that we face in our life. Again, sees the sameness or oneness of the self in everybody. So, key message here is what all of these things. If we be stressing this is in three, four verses, the same message in all of them. It is not beyond any seekers or any divines, it's not beyond any of our progression, right? It's just one that requires that steadiness. Uh, to understand the steadiness, right? One, remember that Shanai, Shanai, Ruparamit that came up in, I think, 24th or 25th stanza. One drop at a time. One drop at a time. There are, a couple of places where there is a reference to it. There is an Upanishad called Mandukya Upanishad. Okay. And in that Mandukya Upanishad, there is an example taken for this. It says that, once there was a bird that was near a seashore and it had given some eggs, and the eggs got washed out because there was a big tidal wave that came and took away all the eggs. This, this, bird was angry with the ocean. How dare you take it, right? It is my thing, my possession. Why did you take it? I am going to put all my effort to empty the ocean. That bird, little bird. So what does it do? It takes a little leaf, it goes to a tree, takes a big leaf, and with that big leaf, it goes to the ocean, to the wave, fills that, whatever that leaf with water, and takes it, brings it to the dry surface and pours it there. And it endlessly does it. One, like you and I will laugh at it and say, what is the use? There is no. But I think the thing to appreciate here, right, even though it is a futile exercise, what one might say, is its conviction, not giving up. Very determined that, I should teach this ocean a lesson. It couldn't do it. But the thing that if you were to take this and relate to another scenario, if all of us have been near waterfalls or where river water flows continuously, right? You'd have noticed certain times, right, where there is a huge rock, big rock, and in that little rock, there is drop of water, flowing, and one drop at a time hits that rock, one day at a time. If you come back a month later, you would see that there is a dent in that rock. Yes or no? You would have all seen it. That little drop, right, insignificant comparative to that big rock that we see, insignificant compared to the huge river that's flowing. That drop can make a difference in creating the dent in that rock. Similarly, each and every one of us can take, like the drop in the river or drop in the ocean, as they call it, make that effort, to remain to remain committed, to have that discipline, to tell ourselves that this is the high priority thing in my life and that I have to follow this. So here I want to bring up one thing, right? But back to the third chapter, fourth chapter, Karma Yoga, the concept of yajna came into the picture. If you remember the word yajna, what was yajna? Yajna is a collective set of forces that make any action happen. And it's because of the harmony of all these forces, natural, all these forces together, that make any action happen. And so, even in the context of our progression in the spiritual path, we perform different yajnas to uplift ourselves. So, in Vedanta, there are many, many yajnas. It will come up also in the later chapters. But if you look at it, four of them. First one is what's referred to as Dravya Yajna. Dravya Yajna is something where, you offer herbs, you offer whatever, natural leaves, etc., all of that onto the fire as an offering from the nature back to the divine. It's nature's own, but you're offering it back. Then one level higher than that yajna is referred to as the Tapo Yajna. What is Tapo Yajna? Tapo Yajna is in where I to take austerity steps. You can call it forbearance, right? I can, and I can, I do certain things even outside the comfort zone for my own upliftment. If it means that, for example, if I have to go in an unreserved coach because I have to go reach somewhere at a certain time, and there's no choice because trains are all full, etc., etc., I don't complain, right? Or if I have to do, to be mauna or be not taking food for a day, to do whatever is required as a ritual, I do that. I don't complain. So that is tapo yajna. So we had dravya yajna, we had tapo yajna. The third one is jnana yajna. Jnana yajna is what we are doing now. Jnana yajna is all about being in knowledge, being in hearing knowledge, being knowledge, shavana, manana, all of that comes under jnana. So that is even jnana yajna superior or higher level compared to tapo yajna and dravya yajna. The most considered, the most sacred of all the yajnas is dhyana yajna, which is meditation. There's nothing else about that. So for a seeker, for a devotee like all of us, this is something we have to relate to. That it is the most powerful. All the others are, it's not that they have lesser importance. They are important. But one, especially, if you've been initiated, if you know the techniques and there is you have guidance, a guru, etc., then follow jnana yajna. And that is what every guru says. And all our Guruji also mentioned the same thing. And those are the ways that, when we talk about this chapter, it's only referring to that. And we also talked about, the benefits coming here. The one other benefit that we may tend to ignore it, right? We tend to understand this, okay, people will say this, okay, great, meditation, over 20 minutes. After that, I'm back to my own, normal, what you call horrible life. Is that the case? Not at all, right? You know, your inner life and outer life, when I say inner life or being with yourself, doing sadhana practices all on your own, right? And the outer life where you mingle with other people, relationships, etc., are intricately connected. So the more one dwells in the inside, it reflects in the calmness, steadiness, equanimity at the outside. And vice versa. The more I am able to handle the situations and challenges outside, or I'm able to handle my cravings and aversions better, that much better is my meditation. So they go hand in hand. So it's not that one, meditation means one and that's one life. It's like saying spiritual life is one life and materialistic life is one life. All gurus say they're intricately connected. In fact, the more you're in spirituality, the more better your materialistic life is going to be. So the more one realizes it and follows, take some baby steps or small steps or like that drop steps, like that river drop, water drop, whatever they may be, all of them are going to help. And those who are very discriminative in their mindset, you take some of the, they call decision makers, leaders, CEOs, have to make, crucial decisions. They meditate better. Was because for them, their discriminative power is higher. The commitment power is higher. The visionary power is higher. So that vision of what they want to do outside, they translate that into also vision for what they want to achieve from within. So, so therefore, realizing that these two are intricately connected. So to live a good, healthy life with good relationships with friends, family, work, blah, 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 etc., the more we dwell in meditation as a constant practice, the more we are going to benefit. That is the key message that comes up. Hmm? So, having heard all of this, Arjuna has a few questions. We'll now go through that. Arjuna Uvacha Yogam Yogasvaya Proktaha Samyena Madhusudana Etasyaham na pashyami Chanchalat Vastitim Stiram Chanchalam Himana Krishna Pramati Balabhadridam Tasyaham Nigraham Manye Vayoriva Sudush Sudus Sudishkaram Shri Bhagavanuvacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. So in the 33rd verse, he's saying this yoga, you see how he starts with this thing? Meditation, what does it do? It leads you to become equanimous. You see, in fact, instead of saying yoga of meditation, saying yoga of equanimity that you've taught. It requires a lot of endurance, right? And it requires you to be able to handle the restlessness in the mind. My mind is very, totally restless, right? Turbulent. It is, and it doesn't yield. It doesn't listen to me. So I don't understand, therefore, how you are telling me that, just like you took the example earlier in one of the verses in which you said, just like, the lamp that is lit in a windless place, how steady it is, you should also have that, restful mind to meditate. How is it possible? Very natural question, right? All of us um, all of us will have that particular thing. Is this just theory or is it practical? Hmm? So Krishna very clearly, and the beauty about the answer of Krishna is also very beautiful. He says, I totally agree with you. There's no doubt that it is difficult. See how clever this tactfulness is. He didn't dismiss him. He didn't say that, why are you saying this? Blah, 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 shout at him, etc. He says, I totally agree with you. Without any doubt, it is difficult to control and be restful. But he says, by abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha drishyate. By what? By practice and by dispassion, it can be restrained. What? The mind can be restrained. See how he does it very cleverly. He first connects Arjuna, makes Arjuna happy. Hey, wow, Krishna is also agreeing with me. And then he also gives a recipe for coming out of it by saying practice, abhyasa. This word abhyasa is repeatedly done everywhere in the Gita. And for that matter, it is required in everybody's life also, right? Don't we tell our children, practice more, practice more, practice more. Don't give up. Hmm? The same abhyasa is required even in the spiritual path. So and it is like that, right? Like that drop of ocean, or like that little bird that, never gave up, despite the fact that as an outsider, we would say it's a futile exercise, but for it, it mattered the most. That mentality, right, of doing what you don't, it is like that, I don't know, You sometimes allow a small baby and you say, and you give a heavy, you know, what do you call, object to move, that baby will put all its effort. It would have not even moved 1 micro inch, but it knows it's giving its full energy to move. It may cry at the end of it, whatever, but it knows it has done everything possible to move it. So it's like that bird, right? The child is like that one. Innocent, doesn't have a justification of I can. People, I'm not capable of doing this. I can't do this, etc., etc. 100%. The question in all life, right, is even in spirituality is, are we giving our 100%? That's all one has to reflect on. And then continuing on the 36th verse, असंयतात्मना योगो दुष्पाप इति मे मतिः वश्यात्मना तु यतता शक्यो वाप्तुमुपायतः. Here he says, gives another categorical statement. For them, for people who are, aram say, chill, whatever, I'll do it at my own comfort level, I'll do it when time permits, etc. This yoga will not be attainable. He's very clear. It's not one where I do it whenever I think I can, or I have the right place, or I have to be in this scenario, I should have eaten this, or putting all conditions, ifs and buts to meditate. Only if these variables are taken care of, if, only then I will do it. For those kind of people, it is going to be hard to attain this equanimity that he's referring to. On the other hand, people who are more restrained by nature and are also striving in nature, no, Bashyat Manatu Yatata Shakyo Vaptumapayataha. Somebody who is, restrained to a large degree, who is committed and striving, for that person, it will be obtained through the proper means. And we have said this earlier also in some of the stanzas that, over a period of time, everything is attainable. No, we don't question him, is he saying tomorrow, is he saying 1 month later, is he saying 1 year later, or one janma later. But you're in the right path, continue with it. So, for seekers, we know where we need to be. So we want to be in the one that, is of a relaxing mindset, do whenever I can, or be, that like a tapo yajna, having forbearance mindset. There might be challenges, but I'm going to do it. Right? That's the reason it says that sometimes when you fall sick or when you have a headache, etc., what are the things to be done? Those are the times to build the immunity power that we say do certain sadhana practices. It is not that only when I'm, the happiest of person, etc., that I should do. In fact, when you're going through a gloomy state, it's best to do it, best to do these practices. Everything else. These are the problems. The problems are when situations come that we are not commitment, etc., etc., comes in. I think today we're going to close it here. It's a bit loaded, so I don't want to just run through all the other verses.